All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at what it takes to find an office in Holland Park, which is, one of London's most exclusive neighborhoods. And this is not your average property search, not by a long shot. It's a high-stakes world that has totally changed the game for the modern commercial estate agent.
So, you're probably thinking, finding an office is finding an office, right? A few viewings, some back and forth, and you get the keys. But what is it about Holland Park that makes the whole process so different? Well, that's the big question we're going to unpack today.
And the answer really starts with who the clients are. We're not talking about just any business here. Holland Park is a magnet for a really specific, high-level group. We're talking embassies, huge international consultancies, and other very exclusive businesses that are drawn to its unique vibe, that mix of diplomatic seriousness and quiet, leafy streets.
So, as you can imagine, when you have that kind of high-powered client base all looking for a spot in a pretty small, prestigious area, finding the right place becomes a massive challenge. The stakes are incredibly high, and honestly, the whole thing can be super stressful without someone who really knows what they're doing.
Now this gets right to the core of this whole modern approach. It's a complete shift in thinking. The agent isn't just trying to sell you something anymore. They're a marketer, they're a listener, and maybe most importantly, they're a connector. And that changes absolutely everything.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly, doesn't it? The old way was all about the sales pitch, running down a generic list of questions. But the modern way, especially in a sophisticated market like Holland Park, is built on solid facts, a real strategy, and making genuine human connections. It's all about substance, not just style.
Okay, so how does this actually work in practice? It's not just a nice idea. It really comes down to this super clear three-step process. Let's walk through it.
So step one is market with impact. This is not about a hard sell at all. For the kind of client you find in Holland Park, it's about giving them exactly what they want. The facts laid out clearly and backed up by really compelling visuals. You let the quality of the property do the talking.
And then we have step two, really listen. It sounds so simple, right? But it's absolutely crucial and so often missed. Instead of just hammering you with questions about your budget, the modern agent actually takes the time to get to know you, to understand you on a human level. The goal is to find a space that doesn't just work for the business, but for the people in it.
And the final step is make the right connections. See, finding the property is only one part of it. A true specialist in Holland Park has this deep network. And I don't just mean a list of contacts, I mean real relationships with landlords, with planners, with other pros, to manage everyone's expectations and get the absolute best result for their client.
Okay, so that's the philosophy. But how does that actually turn into real-world services? Let's take a look at how this all works in practice. This table gives us a fantastic snapshot. You can really see how that people-first idea spreads across everything they do. You've got sales and lettings, which is this really bespoke search for anything from a corporate HQ to a diplomatic building. Then there's capital markets, giving strategic advice on these huge investment deals. And finally, professional advisory, which takes care of everything from valuations to making property management totally stress-free.
So this brings us to a really important point. Why does all this specialization actually matter? What's the real advantage for someone looking for a space? Let's get into those key questions.
First off, the big one. Why go with a specialist commercial estate agent for Holland Park instead of a more general London-wide firm?
And the answer is all about that deep, almost microscopic, local knowledge. A specialist just gets the unique character of Holland Park, that blend of quiet residential streets and international importance. They know the buildings, they know the people, they know the specific quirks. And that's a huge advantage a generalist just can't bring to the table.
Okay, next question. With all this talk about embassies and global giants, you might be thinking, is this kind of service only for the really big fish?
And the answer is a very clear no. A huge part of this modern way of working is that every single client gets the same focus and expertise. It doesn't matter if you're a brand new startup or a massive multinational, the level of commitment is exactly the same.
And that kind of brings us to our final thought here. We've seen that Holland Park isn't just another commercial market. It's got its own personality, its own very specific clientele. So it really leaves us with this question to think about. In a market that's this unique, isn't it unique, specialized approach not just nice to have, but absolutely essential?